We often talk about fascism as if it were a passing storm, a brief, ugly blip in history that began and ended with the fall of Nazi Germany. That is how mainstream Western history frames it, an isolated evil purged by victory, never to return. But anyone who understands the meaning of history, his story, knows better. History is never written by the ones crushed beneath it, nor by those who refuse to parade their complicity. The truth is harsher. Fascism was not a singular aberration, nor a sealed episode. It was and remains part of a larger web, of empire, of finance, of power playing its games across continents and centuries. And as uncomfortable as it is to admit, the story does not end where our school books say it does. Chapter 1. During World War I, Britain was collapsing under the weight of exhaustion. By 1916 and 1917, the war had dragged on with catastrophic casualties, shortages of food and supplies, and debts far beyond what the Empire could afford. Desperation drove London to seek new allies, its eyes turned toward influential Jewish figures, including Zionist leaders like Chaim Weizmann and the Rothschilds. Financial support. Britain hoped prominent bankers, including the Rothschilds, would help finance the escalating war. In return, a pledge toward Zionist aims could secure goodwill and investment, influencing US entry into the war. London believed Jewish communities held sway in politics and finance, a view often shaped by stereotypes, and crafted signals to appeal across the Atlantic. Geopolitical strategy in the Middle East. With the Ottomans in control, Britain eyed a foothold near the Suez and emerging oil fields. Backing a Jewish national home offered leverage, while outmaneuvering Arab nationalism and French designs under Sykes-Picot, Zionist lobbying and sympathy. Leaders like Weizmann drafted and redrafted the text. Some officials expressed sympathy for Jewish suffering, but realpolitik dominated. The declaration also functioned as a signal across the Atlantic, aimed at communities believed, and often unfairly, to influence Washington in finance. Soon, America entered the war on the Allied side. Palestinians were never consulted. Their rights were brushed aside with vague safeguards. Britain consolidated control as the war shifted. Behind the language were calculations of empire, pipelines, ports and power mapped over lives and land. Sympathy existed, but strategy steered the wheel. The declaration tied ideals to interests and set trajectories that would reverberate for generations. The storm did not simply pass, it threaded itself through finance, borders and force. Not a blip, but a pattern. And the story, inconvenient as it is, continued. Chapter 2. The Agreement. Reached on the 2nd of November 1917, Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour issued a short letter to Lord Rothschild. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object. It was not a treaty, but a strategic promise. Britain had pledged land it did not yet control to a people not yet sovereign, at the expense of another people already living there. An alternative view, one that has gained traction in recent years, suggests that the declaration was part of a broader deal. Zionist leaders promised to help prolong the war against Germany in exchange for Palestine. Whether or not this can ever be proven beyond doubt, it has never been openly admitted, and given the century that followed, the silence speaks volumes.
Nations were responsible for the most important terms of the peace treaty. However, the process proved slow and difficult as each nation had its own motives.
Our film grain retained pillar box framing. Chapter 3. The Deeper Layers. Germany, sensing stalemate, floated peace offers in late 1916 and early 1917. Britain ignored them, The timing of the Balfour Declaration, alongside the rejection of German overtures, suggests that prolonging the war served multiple interests, keeping America locked into the Allied camp, ensuring Germany's total defeat, and securing British dominance in the post-war Middle East. At the same time, Britain was making conflicting promises. To the Arabs, independence; to the Zionists, a homeland; to themselves, empire. By 1918, those contradictions detonated. The Arabs felt betrayed, the Zionists expected their prize, and Britain walked away holding the keys to Palestine. The Balfour Declaration was the first stitch in a larger fabric, a patchwork of manipulation, duplicity, and empire building. Palestine was never just about shelter for the persecuted. It was about oil routes, global trade, and the balance of power. Chapter 4. Post-World War I. Germany was forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles in 1919, a document so punitive that it guaranteed the collapse of the Weimar Republic. Reparations, lost territory, and humiliation left the nation in poverty and anger, a powder keg waiting for a spark. Meanwhile, Britain and France carved up the Middle East under the League of Nations mandate system, a polite disguise for good old colonialism. Palestine fell under British control. The Balfour Declaration became the legal cover for expanding Jewish immigration, while Britain repressed Palestinian resistance with force. Arab expectations of independence dissolved into betrayal. Zionist settlement accelerated. And Britain secured what it had wanted all along, a strategic wedge at the gateway of empire. The 1920s laid bare the pattern. Loans, reparations, reconstruction, all manipulated by the same financial and political networks that had shaped the war. The victors had redrawn the map, but they had also planted the seeds of the next catastrophe.